roasting of coffee is an experimental process. There's a lot of different ways you can roast. There's almost an infinite amount of variety you can introduce during roasting.
And the roasting, is that controlled by time?
It's controlled by the application of heat over time.
Okay.
And you can change the application of heat over time.
Yeah.
It changes essentially the profile of the temperature curve of the coffee.
Which then changes the profile of the flavor.
Yeah. Monica jokes because she says it's the most engineering she's seen me do.
Well, that's part of our conversation outside.
Like you should see
You know, and that's part of our conversation when we were out there. Was just a little bit about, you know, Monigram.
Yeah.
Monica and Graham.
Yeah.
Right? And
I did 4 years of lab work in an engineering degree.
Yeah.
Which is experimental design and evaluation of results, right? It kind of lined me up for what we ended up doing here in a way that I wouldn't have expected, but it turned out well.
And then
I did.
and then Monica was explaining too.
Choose the right ingredients and you gotta prepare them the right way.
Okay.
That's what roasting's about.
And that would be the Monogram signature then, is the roaster.
Absolutely. The selection of the coffee and the way we decide to roast each one we've selected.
Interesting.
That's part
so
of the
you can make that type of espresso, and yet your bean is changing through the season.
Absolutely, and some of the flavors change a little bit when we change as well.
No, it does.
But we want to have what we consider a Monogram characteristic profile. So
and you create that through the roaster.
Absolutely.
We were talking about coffee and it was tea in the background, so let's talk about the roasting and the espresso.
Well, what we were talking about too was one of some top sellers that we have here and that we're proud of, and the things that have stayed true for probably about 8 years, and the Mad Cat Espresso is one of them.
It has been the core of our coffee offering.
Named after
Madison and Caitlin, our daughters.
Oh, beautiful.
Monogram.
All the cutesy names.
Yes.
It
is actually.
Desperate. No.
Yeah, it really is actually.
Anyway,
Quite like.
not that we're huge cat, we like dogs too. So anyway, but
Our espresso is seasonally changing, but it always kind of sticks to the hallmark flavor profiles that we're shooting for. It got selected by a bunch of restaurants that we think are some of the best restaurants in the region for use. Definitely mentioned by some of the top chefs in the region. We got named as one of the top 3 espressos in Ontario by Toronto Life a couple of years ago.
woo.
Our coffee is going everywhere from east to west coast, and we have customers coming out from Toronto even during COVID to make sure they have enough coffee.
Yeah. This is cool.
So it's the espresso at the core, and then it's a whole bunch of seasonally interesting coffee.
So that was kind of neat.
That through the whole pandemic and adjusting in the business, because that's part of our whole concept here, is how businesses have adjusted post, COVID. And she said you have an IT background that now has come into, into the side for helping the business again.
Absolutely, we pivoted to home delivery and online sales, and the community responded beautifully. It allowed us to survive the tough times of the early COVID period.
I was joking. I was going to call it Justagram after all, rather than Monogram. Yeah. I lost a little bit of my identity, I think, with what happened here. And
Monica was in charge of sales, customer relationships, all of those things.
All things that came to the screaming halt through this, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our wholesale was gone.
managing all the
Our
stuff.
retail sale had become a remote relationship.
Yes.
So it was a tough time.
Didn't, because we busted our butts to try and figure out how to pivot, right?
Yep.
So the one, and I don't think it was.
And to pick a direction,
Yep.
right? The direction was changing every
Exactly,
week, right?
and we had a product to sell, so we weren't just the restaurant. We could sell things, and I think that when you look at who has succeeded or not, I don't think it's fair that all the small businesses who couldn't pivot like that, they fell through the cracks.
Well, I mean, I guess through this, and that's the really neat thing, is all the adjustments and different things you've gotten to either reconnect with, or as simple as, decaling your vehicles to, just do something as simple as that. But, all these different things. The one thing that we do know, and we want more and more people to know, is where they can come and get a great cup of espresso.
So we have rethought ourselves, absolutely, for sure, no doubt about it.
Which is awesome.
Thank you, and I think we wouldn't have been able to do it alone. with the community's help was amazing.
Yeah.
But we know that there isn't a dollar that we can take out and spend on ourselves that we haven't spent within the community since
Yeah.
this started.
For sure.
And we know that the staff that we brought back, when we pay them, their money is getting spent within the community.
Back in it.
And that, I think, is one of the changes that could persist into 2021.
I agree.
Is that people are more conscious of what they really value in their communities.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of small businesses are going to hang tough together.
Absolutely.